What's up, guys? Welcome back to a new video here. So today we're going to be talking about a super interesting debate between Patrick Bet-David and Glen Greenwald on Patrick Bet-David's podcast. And I gotta say, Patrick Bet-David, let's be honest, he's been a pretty staunch defender of everything Israel over the past couple years. And this interview, I gotta say, I think Glen Greenwald absolutely humiliated him. I thought he destroyed him in the debate. And honestly, Glen, you could tell he doesn't want to completely destroy him and get super personal and super aggressive with him. But some of their arguments that Patrick Bet-David was making was honestly ridiculous. He compares Israel to America's only child. I mean, he has to do hopscotch in order to make his point. I mean, it really is ridiculous, some of the arguments he's making. And he basically says, America, his main point is, America has to side with Israel and defend Israel because there's no other ally America can do an alliance with, which is obviously untrue. And also, he doesn't bring up anything about what Israel's doing in Gaza. He doesn't care at all. He literally doesn't even bring that up. Glen Greenwald finally brings it up, and he's like, I also think what Israel's doing in the Gaza Strip is a horrible crime. That's also why we shouldn't be doing any business with Israel. But it is hypocritical that people like Patrick Bet-David, for example, are just going to go out on a tangent and defend everything Israel does, especially and support giving money to Israel, especially when he doesn't support giving money to Ukraine or any other country, it seems, except Israel. It is super strange. And people like that, you do have to wonder, what exactly are their motivations here? Why is he such a staunch defender of Israel? Again, he had Benjamin Netanyahu on his podcast, and let's be honest, he gave him a very softball interview, barely asked any questions regarding to the actual conflict in the Gaza Strip. I mean, genuinely insane stuff. So let's just get right into it. We're going to show you the full clip here of Patrick Bet-David talking about Israel and his staunch defense of Israel, and we'll react to it in just a second. And by the way, guys, if you're enjoying the content, make sure to like and subscribe. It's super good for the algorithm, and it helps out the channel immensely. And if you want to become a member and join the community, hit that join button below. I really appreciate all your guys' support. Patreon's down below as well. And of course, make sure to like and subscribe. So thank you guys so much for watching. Here's a clip. Get ready for it. Pretty wild stuff. Patrick Bet-David versus Glen Greenwald debating Israel and American influence and Israeli influence in American politics. So here's the clip. We'll talk about it in just a second.
3 kids. I think you should have 3 kids. Because if it's only one, guess how they feel? They own you. And I do think there's an element of Israel that is the only child in the Middle East. U.S. made that mistake by having the only child in the Middle East. I don't know if this is making sense, the point I'm making.
No, I understand the point.
The point I'm trying to say is you negotiated this, America. You put yourself in this situation. And I think what Trump is trying to do, which maybe none of these other guys previous to him have done, correct me if I'm wrong, this is your world, is when you have an only child, you don't have a choice. You kind of got to figure it out, or else go raise 2 other kids that match your values and principles and pin them against each other. Meaning, if you see what Trump is doing with Canada, he pushes Mexico, or he pushes China, he pushes Russia, he puts sanctions on Russia. You better not do the oil deal. The couple of the biggest oil companies in China that buy oil, they're like, we're suspending it because of sanctions. And then he's able to pin them against each other. But he's trying to find somebody else to pin against Israel, to hold Israel accountable. And I think he's doing that in the way he did with Qatar, when he's like, why'd you shoot up that place? You better come out and apologize. I think that phone call was made. Do you think that phone call was made when he said you better apologize to Qatar?
Oh, for sure. No, he was enraged.
He was enraged. But the part where I'm going to is I think they handed him, you have 1 child in the Middle East. Go make it work. And there's a community of people saying, screw Israel, screw this, screw that. You can't. It's the only child. Wait till you build a couple other children, then let them compete against each other.
I totally get that theory. It's coherent and it makes sense, and I think there's some truth to it as well, except after the 1967 war and then 1973 Yom Kippur War, Nixon was the first to change these policies. He became very close to the Arab world, or closer. And then, obviously, we have had an extremely close relationship with the Saudis for decades, even after 9/11, when they were by far the country most involved, or certainly with the greatest proximity to the hijackers. George Bush helped the Saudis who were in the country get out. He continued to have very close, the Bush family has been very close to the Saudis for a long time. They're oil people. They have a close relationship. But one of the things that we did is, and I think this is when you count how much we do for Israel, this often doesn't get counted, is we don't just give huge amounts of money to Israel. We also prop up a regime in Egypt that, goes back to Anwar Sadat and then Mubarak and now Sisi. And we prop up the Jordanian royal family as well to keep not just stability in those countries, but also to keep them at bay and not hostile toward Israel. We do have other allies in the region. And I think one of the things Trump is wanting to do, and I think you're right about this, is he wants to expand the scope of American alliances in the region, but he also wants to foster normalization with Israel.
But I think that's fine. So the way I process it is with business. And I'll explain it to you from my perspective. Again, push back when I'm given this perspective. I'm very comfortable with it. Is when at the beginning I had an insurance carrier, I'm running an insurance company. I only had 1 insurance carrier. I didn't have 4. I didn't have 5. I only had 1. And the one that I had was AIG, American General.
Uh-huh.
And I'm coming up, I'm a newer company. They tell me what they want to do. I can't push back.
You have no leverage.
I don't have any other carriers. So then I go get a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, a seventh. Finally, it normalizes where the negotiation is even. But guess what? I never wanted to lose them because they've been a decent ally to me, and we both needed each other when we got started. I think that's the right way of diplomacy on what he's doing. I think for him to sit there and say, because if I sit there and I think about, you have the best intel, I want access to that intel. Nobody else does a good enough of a job as intel as you in the Middle East. I think that's very valuable to me. How can I use that intel? Now, don't get me wrong. When the argument comes back around and it's, your number one is Epstein. You know what my number one is? What do you think my number one is?
What is your number one?
What do you think my number one is? I want you to take a wild guess.
I'm at a loss. I don't tell
It's
me.
Epstein.
Oh, and so we're in agreement. I
Of
thought
course,
that.
no,
Yeah.
Epstein's my number one. Because,
All right, so yeah, we hit bingo on
because
that.
I do believe they've been using blackmail to get information and that info was being sent to Israel. I do believe all of that stuff happened.
But this is what I'm saying. It's like, if you take this idealistic view of Israel, they give us all this intel. They're like incredibly. You make a better argument. The thing is that the Israelis don't have any sense of loyalty to the United States. The intel they pass to us is often shit. It's deceitful. It's manipulated to get us to do what they want. It's filled with falsehoods. And this is the stuff. I'm not saying just the Israelis do. This is not uniquely evil. This is how the intel world operates. We try and manipulate other countries by saying, "Oh, look what we have here." You know, it's what the Steele dossier was about, right? That's part of that world is deliberate disinformation and lying. The Israelis aren't. The Israelis care about Israel. They are not loyal to the United States, which is fine.
That, we are America first.
We should be.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot more unnatural loyalty to Israel than certainly Israel has to us. And I think it's important not to overlook the reality that many of the most important people in the United States, the people who wield the greatest power, the people who have the most money, the people who are most indispensable to many power centers, are people who have at least as much loyalty to Israel as to the United States, if not more so. You can't ignore that as part of the relationship. There's a manipulative aspect to it.
I don't disagree. I don't.
No, I know. I'm just saying that has to be part of the formula.
But where I'm going with this is, so I'm sitting there and I'm watching all the criticism that Trump is getting, but I'm also watching what he's doing behind the scenes. I'm also seeing how he's trying to put Netanyahu in his place. And I also see that Netanyahu thinks he can do anything he wants to do with America. Probably he could have done with other presidents in the past, but he's having a hard time with this one guy that's coming in. And this one guy that's coming in is a little bit tougher candidate for him because he has a thing that none of the guys previous to him had. He is so unpredictable, and he can't control him.
I mean, wow, that is just completely divorced from reality. I mean, it's totally insane. Again, the defense of Israel he gives, making up these weird analogies, comparing Israel to the only child of the United States. Dude, what are you talking about? Number two, again, it's like Trump views them as an only child. Where does that even come from? First of all, again, let's be clear. The United States has many allies in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Jordan, Egypt, Qatar, the Emiratis. I mean, just keep it. I mean, there's way more. Just keep listing them. The idea that it's only Israel is completely not true. And again, the idea that Patrick Bet-David brings up, and you can tell Glenn is like befuddled by this. The idea that he brings up the fact that, well, you know, Trump is just looking for someone to hold Israel accountable. What? What are you talking about? Because whenever there's a UN resolution condemning Israel, the United States always vetoes it. There's usually the only country that vetoes it. They don't support a two-state solution. In fact, Trump was willing to stop negotiations with Canada over a trade deal because they recognize a Palestinian state. The United States is opposed to a two-state solution under this Trump administration, which has been against U.S. foreign policy precedent for decades. So that goes to show you how pro-Israel this administration is. And again, let's be clear also, Trump is looking to build other children. What are you talking about? To oppose Israel? What? The United States, again, they've been allies to the Saudis for decades. Turkey, Egypt, totally insane. And again, let's be very clear too, and Greenwald brings up a very good point here, where he brings up not only do we give tons of money to Israel, but even in arms, money, supplies, but take into account, guys, even in the Iran conflict, how much money it costs moving aircraft carriers to the Middle East, shooting down Iranian missiles. It was tens of millions of dollars, and that doesn't even count into the actual aid that goes to Israel. Secondly, we also, again, Greenwald brings up the point, we give money to other foreign countries like Egypt, Jordan, Turkey, for example. We give aid to them. And yes, in large part, it is to maintain stability in the Middle East, but the other reason, which is not as publicized, is the fact that we don't want them to start any problems with Israel. We give you money, you calm down, you don't do anything with Israel. You let Israel do what they want. That's basically, it's honestly a bribe of sorts. We're bribing other countries so they maintain their position and stay away from Israel. That's the goal, guys. Let's just be totally honest about that. And again, it's amazing how his entire diatribe, Patrick Bet-David, he's talking about this, but doesn't bring up the fact that Israel has literally leveled the Gaza Strip. It's not even a consideration, taking into account how bad it looks for the United States that we're supporting this and funding what Israel is doing. Meanwhile, almost the entire world is opposed to it. Hurts our credibility in the world. It hurts the American position mightily. But Patrick Bet-David doesn't care about that, it seems. Again, you can tell because he doesn't have any problem with what Israel is doing in the Gaza Strip. There's no question about that. I mean, I'm sorry, there's just no question. He's never condemned it. So, and again, it's just so interesting to me. And the idea that Israel is a great ally of the United States, like Patrick Bet-David said, again, amazing. We literally bombed Iran for them. That's what we did. We bombed Iran because Bibi needed us to bomb the nuclear facilities, which, by the way, it's not even clear that was a successful operation. And number two, it's amazing how, again, I do feel like Greenwald was too nice a little bit in some of the, you got to go harder in a sense after him. I mean, some of the stuff he's saying is such obvious propaganda and it's just a false distortion of reality. But overall, I thought he did a good job. Again, he's trying to be nice to the guy from, having him on his podcast. I understand that. But again, the idea that he views Israel as the only sort of country that he wants to give money to and supplies to, because as I said, guys, PBD is very anti-Ukraine. He doesn't support giving Ukraine money, but Israel giving money, that's totally fine. How does that make any sense? And again, he brings up, we get the best intel from Israel. Well, a lot of the intel is skewed that the United States gets from Israel. Let's be very clear. Again, the American intelligence agencies, according to the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, she said that a couple months before the Iran war started, she said they had no evidence Iran was making nuclear facilities. Zero evidence whatsoever. But then, wait a second, the Israelis, of course, have influence. They have evidence that they are about to get a nuclear bomb, so we have to go in and bomb them. So again, it's flawed information to get them to do what we want, which is why we bombed Iran. And again, does Trump really believe that? Or is it because, you know what, he wants to do what Israel says, so he'll actually just go in and bomb Iran because Israel told him to? I mean, let's be honest, guys. It's totally insane. And again, the idea, this is the most ridiculous part of the entire segment. The idea that PBD actually thinks that Trump is trying to hold Bibi accountable. Guys, what the F is he actually talking about? That Bibi can't get away with other stuff under other presidents? Again, Trump himself openly says he openly says this, guys, that he's the most pro-Israel president in American history. He openly says this. And why does he say that? Why do the Israelis think, and Benjamin Netanyahu call him the greatest ally Israel has ever had? That's what they call Trump. Why do they say that? Well, it's because, frankly, the Trump administration has, even the bunker buster bomb the Biden administration did not give to Bibi and the Israelis. Trump signed off on that. The Americans under the Trump administration had zero problem with what the Israelis had done in the Gaza Strip. Zero whatsoever. Whenever they ask Trump about it, he brings up October 7th. He says, that's basically the justification for everything. They can do whatever they want because of October 7th. It justifies everything, according to the Trump administration position. Number two, again, the United States is allowing Israel to continue to build settlements in the West Bank, which Trump is totally supportive of. Again, he said recently that he's not going to allow them to annex the West Bank, but guys, they're already annexing parts of it. They're already building settlements and committing these attacks. So the idea that they're not going to annex it, that's already happening right now. Again, the idea that he's putting Bibi in his place, utterly ridiculous. If he's putting Bibi in his place, why did he allow him to bomb Iran? It makes no sense whatsoever. And then, of course, he cites, reports there's tension between Bibi and Trump. Really? Just like before the Iran war started, it came out that, wait a second, there were reports that there was tension between Bibi and Trump. But guess what? Next week, the Israelis bombed Iran and the Americans shortly thereafter. Because, again, they were trying to give the impression to the media that they were fighting and they weren't on the same page. Meanwhile, it was a Trojan horse. They were always on the same page. They always intended to go into Iran because the Israelis and Trump were in agreement. We got to go to war with Iran because they want regime change. Again, the amount of just total distortions that Patrick Bet-David gives in this segment is totally ridiculous, guys. And it makes you wonder, why is he such a staunch defender of Israel here? Is it because he wants to run for office one day? Is it because he's trying to position himself a certain way? It doesn't make any sense to me, and I thought Greenwald did overall a very good job of saying, wait a second, the information that the Israelis give is oftentimes very skewed, the intel, Okay, that's number one. The Iran nuke's a good example. Again, Netanyahu was a staunch supporter of going into Iraq because he said that Iraq was building atomic bombs to target the United States. That was not true. That was a lie. And again, it's just wild to me also, Patrick Bet-David, America first, that's what he says, right? He didn't want to start bombing any of these other countries, but he's in total support of bombing and going to war with Venezuela to try and basically take over the drug cartels, aka take the oil in Venezuela, exactly what the United States did when they went into Iraq. But again, you notice how when Trump does something, he's totally fine with it. If Biden was bombed Iran, for example, would Patrick Bet-David have that same position? I don't think so. Because again, Trump he views as this great mastermind. The idea that Trump is in charge of Bibi and has leverage over him and he's putting him in his place, what an utter fallacy, totally ridiculous. No, if you're following the news, if you think that, I don't know what to tell you. It's very obvious Trump does almost everything the Netanyahu and the Israeli government says. I mean, it's totally insane. Why is that? Who knows what the real reason is? There's a lot of speculation out there. It's donor money. Of course, it's a big role. People think, hey, maybe they got blackmail on him. Who knows? Who knows what the real reason is? But the idea that that Trump is, again, the idea that Trump is putting Bibi in his place, what a disgrace. Nobody, look at the comment section of that video, guys. Totally ridiculous. So totally insane. I thought Glen Greenwald did a great job here in this interview overall. Basically just debunking a lot of the claims Patrick Bet-David was making. Israel is the only child and Trump is looking for people to oppose Israel. Are you serious? Give me a break. So that's what I got for you guys today. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, if you're enjoying the content, make sure to like and subscribe. It's super good for the algorithm, and it helps the channel immensely. And if you want to become a member, hit the join button below. My Patreon's below as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you guys later.